Your blood pressure is not rising because your body is broken. It's rising because your body is responding exactly the way you've trained it to respond. That's the uncomfortable truth. Most people spend years looking for a miracle solution while ignoring the daily habits that quietly push their numbers higher. They search for shortcuts. They search for secrets. They search for something complicated because accepting a simple truth feels too painful. The truth is that your body keeps score. Every late night, every hour spent sitting, every moment of constant stress, every excuse repeated so many times it starts sounding like common sense. Your body notices all of it, and eventually it responds. What makes this dangerous is that high blood pressure rarely announces itself. It doesn't kick down the door and demand your attention. It doesn't always arrive with warning signs that force you to stop. It works in silence. It builds quietly, day after day, month after month, year after year. That's why so many people underestimate it. Human nature is strange. Most people only respect a threat when they can see it. If something hurts, they pay attention. If something breaks, they react. But when damage happens behind the scenes, they convince themselves everything is fine, until it isn't. A number on a monitor might seem small, a few points higher than normal, then a few more, then a few more. The problem is that every increase represents pressure being applied to a system that was never designed to live under constant strain. Think about that. Pressure, every second, every minute, every hour, every day. The heart never takes a vacation. The blood vessels never get a day off. Yet many people treat their health as if they can neglect it for years and somehow avoid the consequences. That fantasy has cost countless people their future. Here's a shocking truth that most people don't want to hear. Many are far more committed to protecting their comfort than protecting their health. They know certain habits are hurting them. They know stress is consuming them. They know inactivity is becoming a lifestyle. They know poor routines are catching up with them. But they continue because changing feels inconvenient, and inconvenience has become the modern excuse for self-destruction. A difficult workout feels inconvenient. A healthy routine feels inconvenient. Going to bed earlier feels inconvenient. Managing stress feels inconvenient. But struggling with declining health later becomes far more inconvenient. The bill always arrives. The only question is when. Another harsh reality is that many people have normalized feeling terrible. Constant fatigue, constant tension, constant mental overload, constant pressure. They wake up exhausted, move through the day stressed, and fall asleep worried. Then they repeat the cycle again tomorrow and wonder why their body keeps sending warning signals. The answer isn't mysterious. A body trapped in survival mode cannot thrive. When stress becomes your normal state, your nervous system begins acting as if danger is everywhere. The body prepares for threats that never arrive. Muscles tighten. Heart rate increases, blood vessels react, hormones flood the system. What was designed to protect you temporarily becomes a condition you live in permanently, and your health pays the price. The frightening part is that many people don't even realize how much stress they carry anymore. They've lived with it so long that it feels normal. They've become familiar with anxiety, familiar with rushing, familiar with overwhelm, familiar with exhaustion. But normal and healthy are not the same thing. Just because something is common doesn't mean it's harmless. That's a distinction too many people learn too late. Your body is constantly adapting to the instructions you give it. Every action sends a message. Every habit sends a message. Every choice sends a message. The question is simple. What message are you sending? Are you teaching your body resilience? Or are you teaching it survival? Are you creating strength? Or are you creating strain? Because your future health is not being determined by one dramatic decision. It's being shaped by thousands of small choices that seem insignificant in the moment. That's what makes this so powerful. And that's what makes it so dangerous. Small actions feel easy to ignore. One stressful day doesn't seem important. One unhealthy meal doesn't seem important. One missed opportunity to move your body doesn't seem important. But life is not built on one day. Life is built on repetition. What you repeat becomes who you are. What you repeat becomes what your body expects. And what your body expects eventually becomes your reality. The good news is that this truth works both ways. If small negative actions can slowly create problems, small positive actions can slowly create change. That is the mindset shift most people need. Stop looking for dramatic transformations. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is a fantasy. Real change begins when excuses end. Your body is listening right now. Your habits are speaking right now. And your future health is being shaped right now. Not next month. Not next year. Today. Because every day you ignore the warning signs, you're casting a vote for the future you claim you don't want. And every day you choose a better action. No matter how small, you're proving that change is still possible. The question isn't whether your body can improve. The question is whether you're finally ready to stop fighting the truth that's been staring at you the entire time. The first exercise is simple: slow breathing. Not because it's trendy, not because it's some magical trick. Because your nervous system listens to every breath you take. Most people never think about that. They pay attention to what they eat. They pay attention to what they weigh. They pay attention to numbers on a screen. But they ignore the one process happening every second of every day that has direct access to the systems controlling stress, tension, heart rate, and blood pressure. Breathing. The average person treats breathing as something automatic, something that requires no attention at all. And technically that's true. Your body will continue breathing whether you think about it or not. But that's exactly why most people miss its power. Because the things that happen automatically often reveal the deepest truths about how you're living. Pay attention to someone under pressure. Their breathing changes. Pay attention to someone overwhelmed. Their breathing changes. Pay attention to someone angry, anxious, fearful, or stressed. Their breathing changes. The body always tells the truth before the mind is willing to admit it. Fast breathing, shallow breathing, tight breathing. These are not random events. They're signals. They're evidence that the body believes something is wrong. The problem is that modern life keeps people trapped in this state for hours at a time. Sometimes for years. Always rushing, always checking, always reacting, always consuming information, always preparing for the next problem before the current one has even ended. The result is a nervous system that rarely experiences true recovery. And when recovery disappears, pressure increases. Here's a shocking truth. Many people spend more time scrolling through their phones in a single day than they spend consciously breathing for a single minute. Think about that. Hours of attention given to distractions. Almost no attention given to the process keeping them alive. Then they wonder why they feel tense, why they feel overwhelmed, why their mind never seems quiet, why their body feels like it's carrying a weight it cannot put down. The answer isn't always complicated. Sometimes the body is simply responding to the environment you've created. Every shallow breath is a message. Every rushed breath is a message. Every tense breath is a message. And the message is always the same. Stay alert. Stay ready. Something might happen. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between a genuine emergency and a mind that never stops racing. It responds to what it experiences, not what you intend, not what you hope, not what you promise yourself you'll fix someday, what it experiences. This is why slow breathing matters, not because it changes one moment, because it changes the message. When you deliberately slow your breathing, something powerful happens. The body begins receiving different instructions. The signal changes. Instead of danger, it receives calm. Instead of urgency, it receives control. Instead of survival, it receives safety. And when the body feels safe, systems begin operating differently. Tension starts to decrease. Stress responses begin to settle. The constant feeling of being chased by life starts losing its grip. But here's where most people fail. They want immediate results. They want one session to erase years of neglect, 1 minute to undo thousands of stressful moments, one quick fix to solve a long-term problem. That's not how the body works. The body responds to patterns. Always has. Always will. What matters isn't one perfect breathing session. What matters is repetition. The same principle that created the problem is the principle that helps create the solution: consistency. Small actions repeated over time. That's the part people resist, because consistency is boring. It doesn't create dramatic headlines. It doesn't satisfy the desire for instant transformation. It asks for patience, discipline, commitment. And those qualities are becoming increasingly rare. Another harsh reality is that many people don't know what relaxation actually feels like anymore. They know distraction, they know entertainment, they know temporary escape, but genuine calm? That's becoming unfamiliar. A quiet mind feels strange. A relaxed body feels unusual. Stillness feels uncomfortable. Why? Because constant stimulation has become normal. The brain is always occupied. The attention is always pulled somewhere else. And when attention is constantly fragmented, stress quietly becomes the background soundtrack of life. Slow breathing interrupts that pattern. It forces awareness. It forces presence. It forces you to confront a reality many people spend years avoiding. The reality that much of the pressure in life isn't coming from the outside world. It's coming from the way the mind reacts to it. That realization changes everything, because if your reactions contribute to your stress, then your reactions can also contribute to your recovery. That's power, real power, not control over the world, control over yourself. And that is where meaningful change begins. Not when circumstances become perfect, not when stress disappears forever, not when life suddenly becomes easy. Change begins when you stop allowing every challenge, every distraction, and every pressure to dictate the state of your body. A slow breath may seem insignificant, almost too simple, too ordinary, too basic, but never underestimate simple actions repeated consistently. Entire lives change because of simple actions. Entire futures are shaped by simple actions. The strongest habits are rarely dramatic. They're repeated again and again, day after day, until they become part of who you are. And that's the mindset shift that matters. Stop viewing breathing as something your body does automatically. Start viewing it as a tool, a signal, a form of training, because every slow breath is a reminder that you are not powerless. Every controlled breath is proof that you can influence the state of your body. And every time you choose calm instead of chaos, you take back a little more control from the stress that has been controlling you for far too long. The second exercise is walking, not as a workout, not as punishment, not as a way to burn off guilt, as medicine, simple, powerful, ignored. That last part is what makes it so frustrating. People are constantly searching for complicated solutions while overlooking one of the most effective things they can do for their body. They want advanced strategies. They want secret techniques. They want revolutionary breakthroughs. But many refuse to master the basics. And the basics are often where the biggest transformations begin. Walking doesn't look impressive. That's why so many people underestimate it. There are no flashy promises attached to it, no dramatic claims, no feeling of being part of some exclusive secret. It's just movement. One step, then another, then another. Yet that simple act has become surprisingly rare. Modern life has created a strange contradiction. People have access to more information about health than any generation before them. Yet many move less than ever. Hours spent sitting. Hours spent staring at screens. Hours spent consuming information about health instead of actually practicing it. Knowledge has increased. Movement has decreased, and the body is paying the price. Here's a harsh truth. The human body was designed for movement, but many people are now living as if movement is optional. It isn't. You can ignore that reality for a while. You can convince yourself that you'll become more active later. You can promise yourself you'll start next week, next month, next year. But the body keeps adapting to what you repeatedly do, or fail to do. Every day spent inactive becomes a lesson your body learns. A lesson that says strength is unnecessary, endurance is unnecessary, mobility is unnecessary, efficiency is unnecessary, and eventually the body responds accordingly. That's how decline begins. Not all at once, not dramatically, quietly, gradually. One missed opportunity at a time, one inactive day at a time, one excuse at a time. Until years later, people find themselves struggling with problems they never saw coming. The frightening part is that inactivity often feels harmless in the moment. Nothing happens immediately. No alarm sounds, no warning light flashes, no instant consequence appears. So people assume everything is fine. But health doesn't operate on immediate consequences. Health operates on accumulation. Small actions accumulate. Small decisions accumulate. Small habits accumulate. And eventually, those accumulations become your reality. Walking works because it interrupts that cycle. It reminds the body what it was built to do. Move, flow, adapt, function. Every step encourages circulation. Every step demands cooperation from muscles, joints, blood vessels, lungs, and the heart itself. The entire system begins working together. And that's important because the body thrives on use. Things that are used become stronger. Things that are neglected become weaker. This principle applies everywhere. Strength, mobility, energy, resilience, health. Use it or lose it. A simple rule, an unforgiving rule, a rule that never stops being true. Here's another uncomfortable reality. Many people claim they don't have time to walk, but what they're really saying is that they haven't made their health important enough. That sounds harsh, because it is. Everyone gets the same 24 hours. The difference is priorities. People make time for what matters. They always have. They always will. The issue isn't usually a lack of time, it's a lack of urgency. The consequences feel distant. The damage feels invisible. So action gets postponed. Again and again and again. until one day the consequences are no longer distant. Now they are personal. Now they are real. Now they demand attention. Waiting until that moment is a dangerous strategy, because prevention is always easier than repair. Always. Walking teaches something deeper than physical movement. It teaches responsibility. Every step is evidence that you're investing in your future rather than gambling with it. Every step is a decision, a vote for better health, a vote for greater resilience, a vote for a stronger future version of yourself. And those votes matter, because your future is being built right now, not someday. Today. The body you're going to live in 10 years from now is being shaped by the choices you're making this week. That truth should wake people up. Because too many live as though consequences only exist in the future. But the future is simply today's habits, repeated long enough. Nothing more, nothing less. Walking also exposes another problem. Many people have become addicted to convenience. If something requires effort, they avoid it. If something requires discipline, they postpone it. If something requires consistency, they lose interest. But convenience has a cost. A body that never faces challenges eventually becomes incapable of handling them. Strength comes from demand. Resilience comes from demand. Growth comes from demand. The body improves when it's asked to do something. Walking is one of the simplest ways to create that demand. No complicated equipment, no special knowledge, no perfect conditions, just movement, just action, just a decision to stop making excuses. And that's the real lesson. The greatest benefit isn't found in a single walk. It's found in the identity that begins to form when you choose movement repeatedly. You stop seeing yourself as someone waiting for change. You become someone creating it, one step at a time. That's how lasting transformation happens. Not through dramatic breakthroughs, not through bursts of motivation, not through wishful thinking, through consistency, through repetition, through small actions performed long after the excitement disappears, because motivation comes and goes. Discipline remains, and every walk becomes proof that you're no longer waiting for health to happen by accident. You're building it on purpose, step by step, day by day, choice by choice, until one day the person staring back in the mirror is no longer someone making excuses. It's someone who finally understood a truth most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Your health is not determined by what you know. It's determined by what you repeatedly do. The third exercise is one most people have never heard about. Isometric hand grip training. Simple in appearance, deceptively powerful in practice. No complicated movements, no endless instructions, just sustained pressure, just controlled effort, just holding tension with intention. And that's exactly why many people overlook it, because modern culture has trained people to believe that if something looks simple, it can't possibly be effective. If it doesn't leave them exhausted, drenched in sweat, or feeling like they've survived a battle, they assume it isn't working. But the body doesn't reward drama. The body rewards adaptation. That's a distinction many people never learn. The goal is not to impress yourself. The goal is to improve yourself. And improvement often comes from methods that appear almost too simple to matter. Isometric hand grip training works by challenging your cardiovascular system in a unique way. Over time, consistent practice can help improve how blood vessels respond and how the body manages pressure. But the physical benefits are only part of the story. The deeper lesson is psychological, because this exercise exposes one of the biggest weaknesses holding people back from change: impatience. The modern world has created an expectation that everything should happen immediately. Food arrives instantly. Entertainment arrives instantly. Information arrives instantly. People have become so accustomed to speed that they start expecting their bodies to operate by the same rules. But your body isn't an app. It isn't a machine that updates overnight. It responds to repetition, to consistency, to time, and that reality frustrates many people. They want quick results, quick fixes, quick transformations, quick victories. The problem is that lasting health rarely works that way. The things that create the biggest changes are often the things people dismiss because they seem too small. A few minutes of breathing, a daily walk, a brief hand grip exercise. None of these actions feel life-changing in the moment. That's why most people quit. They're addicted to immediate evidence. They need constant proof that something is working. And when they don't get it, they move on to the next solution. Then the next, then the next. They spend years chasing new answers while ignoring the power of consistency. Here's a harsh truth. Many people are not failing because they lack information. They're failing because they abandon good habits before those habits have time to produce results. That's a painful realization because it removes the excuse that success is hidden somewhere out there. It isn't. The fundamentals have always been available. The challenge is sticking with them long enough to let them work. Think about how many health goals are abandoned every year. Not because they were impossible, not because they were ineffective, because they were boring. People underestimate how much damage boredom causes. They'll endure stress, they'll endure discomfort, they'll endure frustration, but they struggle to endure repetition. And yet repetition is where transformation lives. Every meaningful change in the human body comes from repetition. Strength, endurance, mobility, resilience, recovery, all of it. Repeated actions, repeated effort, repeated discipline, again and again. The hand grip exercise serves as a reminder of that principle. You apply pressure, you hold, you stay focused, you resist the urge to quit. And in that small moment, you're practicing something much larger than physical training. You're practicing self-control. You're practicing patience. You're practicing the ability to stay committed even when the reward isn't immediate. That skill transfers everywhere, because health is not won through occasional bursts of motivation. Health is won through consistency when motivation disappears. Anyone can take action when they feel inspired. Anyone can commit when excitement is high. Anyone can promise change when fear is fresh. The real test comes later, when the excitement fades, when progress feels slow, when results aren't obvious, when nobody is watching. That's where most people stop. And that's where the people who succeed keep going. Another uncomfortable reality is that your body doesn't care about your intentions. It doesn't care about your goals. It doesn't care about the promises you make to yourself every Monday morning. It responds to behavior, only behavior. You can plan all day, research all day, talk about change all day. None of it matters if action never follows. The body measures reality differently. It measures what you actually do, not what you hope to do, not what you mean to do, not what you're going to start doing someday, what you do, repeatedly. That truth can feel brutal, but it's also incredibly freeing. Because it means your future isn't controlled by luck. It isn't controlled by perfect genetics. It isn't controlled by waiting for the right moment. It's influenced every day by choices that are already within your control. Small choices, simple choices, repeatable choices. That's the mindset shift that changes everything. Stop asking whether an action feels significant. Ask whether it's repeatable. Because the most powerful habit is rarely the most exciting one. It's the one you'll still be doing 6 months from now, 1 year from now, 5 years from now. The hand grip exercise represents that idea perfectly. Not flashy, not dramatic, not complicated, just effective, just consistent. Just another reminder that the biggest threat to your health isn't a lack of options. It's the belief that simple things can't create extraordinary results. They can, but only for the people willing to respect the power of repetition. Only for the people willing to stay committed after the excitement disappears. Only for the people who finally understand that lasting change isn't built through intensity. It's built through consistency. And consistency will always outperform occasional effort pretending to be commitment. Now comes the part most people avoid. The decision. Not the decision to learn more. Not the decision to save this information for later. Not the decision to promise themselves they'll start someday. The decision to act. Because information has never been the real problem. The world is overflowing with information. People know they should move more. They know they should manage stress better. They know they should take care of their health. Yet knowing and doing remain two completely different worlds. And that gap is where countless futures are lost. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your blood pressure is not waiting for you to feel ready. Your heart is not waiting for you to become motivated. Your body is not waiting for the perfect season of life. Time keeps moving. Every day, every week, every month, whether action is taken or not. That's what makes procrastination so dangerous. It creates the illusion that nothing is happening. But something is always happening. You're either moving closer to better health or further away from it. There is no pause button, no neutral ground, no standing still. The body is always adapting, always responding, always becoming the result of repeated choices. That's why excuses are so expensive. Most people think excuses protect them. They don't. Excuses provide temporary comfort while quietly creating long-term consequences. I'll start next week. I've been busy. I don't have enough time. I'll focus on it later. These phrases sound harmless, but repeated often enough, they become a lifestyle, and eventually they become a future. A future many people never intended to create. The frightening part is that nobody plans to neglect their health. Nobody wakes up and decides they want more problems. Nobody consciously chooses a weaker future. It happens gradually, one excuse at a time, one delay at a time, one missed opportunity at a time, until years pass and the consequences finally arrive. Then people look back and realize the warning signs were there all along. The truth was there all along. The opportunity was there all along. But action never followed. Don't let that become your story. Because the solution doesn't require perfection. Perfection is another trap, another excuse disguised as a standard. Many people delay action because they think they need the perfect routine, the perfect schedule, the perfect plan, the perfect circumstances. But perfection is often just procrastination, wearing a smarter disguise. Progress has always belonged to the people willing to start before they feel ready. The people willing to take action before everything is figured out. The people willing to improve instead of waiting to become perfect. That is where real change begins. Not in massive transformations, not in dramatic declarations. In small decisions repeated consistently, a slower breath, repeated consistently, they become a different life. And that's the mindset shift worth remembering. Stop asking, what's the fastest way to lower my blood pressure? That question changes everything, because it forces responsibility. It forces honesty. It forces you to stop looking outward and start looking inward. Will your next choice become another excuse, or the moment everything finally starts to change?